Okay. The recommendation I believe was Nepal from a teammate here. I'm looking at how ball comps work out. So, because my team runs a lot of them. So indoor stage. They run the hard brawl. I wish we could get more style difference. Okay. So here's where we see the Eternal comp. In all of its laggy glory. Hey Adam. Good to see you again. Just trying to check my settings real quick to see if there's any differences that I might be able to chop down for... Ah, there we go. I would have to restart, so I won't, but good to know. So, I'm looking at how Paris's ball comp handles Brawl, because 90% of the time I run into that. I'm doing pretty good, thanks for asking. A little busy with team stuff, a little busy with some other stuff. Trying to meet up with a professor. Unfortunately, there was a death of a family friend recently, so that's been on my mind a lot. But for the most part, pretty good. Yeah, it's definitely been a while. I don't like. I always say this, but like, streaming is like kind of a for fun side thing for me. So while I feel a little bad sometimes leaving you guys in the dust, it's fun to just like hang out and occasionally chat while doing a little bit of the stuff. Since now that I'm coaching, I don't need to do the reviews to stay sharp. But and now I'm back in the burb room again, so you might get to hear them finally after ages and ages. So right off the bat, Eternal swaps to this ball comp, and like the whole nice thing with this matchup is it's almost impossible for the gladiators to actually rush anyone down. Like they have to rely on, like the Vestola probably won't get too close, so I don't think the Mei should be able to catch him. And then Don maybe gets frozen, but if he, as long as he's pretty smart with it, I don't think he's in any danger. So Eternal is basically going to be playing for the spam win condition from Naga, and even from Onigod and Don providing some angles. So my guess is they're going to try and burst down Sim and Lucio after a quick slam setup. We'll see. Right now they're just waiting for Khan to get into position. So they hit the roll through. Yep, and there's the kill on the Sim. Actually, I'm curious how it happened so quick. Did they land a rocket on it first? Gotta get the Don POV. Oh yeah, so I think he just got clipped by a rocket first. So yeah, that was the really rapid execution that you want out of this comp. And Sadon goes for the slam here for the chip, and note that he's like immediately heading out, not trying to take any shots here, because Kevster is on him with the Mei, because like he's their best target. But note that as soon as everybody's trying to focus the ball on the Glad's team, they've already sent Kevster and Onigod around to the back line, and this is going to run over Shu. So that was a really smart play to use their attention. I talked about this in a Reddit post recently. But as soon as that attention is shifted away on this ball unit, suddenly these guys are completely free. And they're actually forgetting that Khan is in the open here. And therefore probably could land a nade if he wanted. I don't know if he does and if he goes for it. But yeah, Shu just gets run over. Yep, then there goes Moth as well. So the tank line from Glads just left the entire Eternal DPS squad completely open because they returned on the ball. And it's something that I was talking about with a couple of teammates recently. Is the quote that we came up for it to illustrate it is be aware of the rain, but be prepared for the flooding. Because like you want to be aware of the ball coming in and like his pressure and damage, but what you're really scared of is the flooding that comes after, like the actual thing that does the damage. So while the ball is coming in and he is pretty scary and you want to freeze him, Space specifically needs to be hard watching these guys because he should know that whatever is going to be happening is not going to be the ball's doing or anything coming from this angle. Because the ball is just a distraction, right? And while it can provide some pressure, he really needs to be watching. If he had been watching for Naga here, Shu probably could have pressured them out. But he doesn't, and now they're just able to run over two people, the entire Glad's backline. And they had already killed Birdring, and now it's just Kevster and tanks. So they're going to be able to stall a little. And Kevster is a sicko, so he just kills two. But for all practical purposes, Eternal has won this fight, and because they still have Vistola up, they're able to clean it up. Yeah, it's that's a little complicated. Both tanks should be aware of what's going on. So like the main tank, if he's going after the ball here to pressure him out, he should at least be aware that there's probably things happening here. But because this is kind of the main angle, or at least was for that moment, I think that it's like more excusable maybe. But the off tank always needs to be the one watching for the off angle damage. So yeah, the off tank, like it's the most, like there's a quote that I really like from a guy ages ago who's like a manager for some tier 3 team, but he was like off tank is one of the most polarizing roles because they simultaneously have to be, like one of the things is they have to be simultaneously like thinking in the present but also in the future, because it's their job to glue this together and keep the space that they already have and like protect their backline and these off angles. And Space just completely failed to do that because, like, if I highlight it real quick here, it was right here, I think. Space is so busy. No, where is he? There it is. He's so busy chasing this ball and getting slept. And note that he gets slept, once again, also because he's looking at the ball. So he's so busy trying to burst down this ball that he just completely ignores his backline. And while Rein could hypothetically also stay here, he's just not nearly as effective at shutting down the Pharah or pressuring her out. So usually you would have your Sigma do it, your D.Va do it, your Zarya do it, just because they have better counter pressure against the Pharah and generally better protection for their team against like specific DPS threats. The only main tank, like Ball is like a main tank who can pressure Pharah but can't really protect the teammates, so that's not as efficient. Monkey can't do either that efficiently. Orisa is kind of the only main tank who a little bit can do a bit of peeling, but I don't really recommend it still. But yeah, so like the thing is the off tanks just have kits better designed for it, which is why I tend to emphasize them filling that role. I'm actually kind of shocked. So like Khan, yeah. So it's basically just Khan and Vestola managed to clean that up, and it was because Khan was actually on his own angle, so he just wasn't under any pressure there. So that's why he's able to get the easy sleep dart on space. He was able to keep Festola up this whole time without being under any pressure. So the interesting thing here is how the Eternal is going to have to set up their kill box, because they're going to predict that Glads are coming from the top here. So note that Vestola is already down here on an angle. You have Dawn up here on an angle. I think he might go for a boop, but we'll see. That's kind of a hard one to land. Looks like Onigata is doing the rollout to top, and is a little slow on it, but he's also, once again, on the angle. Pharah is already up here, has pretty good vertical cover on the angle. So they already set up like this quarter circle around the gladiators. And while we'll have to see how they execute it, because now there's not as much of an easy target. They're probably going to burst down the BAP and force out Immo really early. So there's the slam. No follow-up though immediately. And note that Khan is further back here because he doesn't want to get rushed down. He's the one person on their team who can't run away very much. That's a kind of neat way to look at it, yeah. I think, yeah, they're both there to get space and protect their team. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I kind of like that, yeah. I feel like that's a kind of interesting way to look at it. I think of it as the main tank just handles the main source of pressure in the current, so like you said, yeah, and then off tank prevents the... Yeah, that's kind of an interesting way to do it. I don't think that's... I off the top of my head, maybe it misses some nuances of it, but it's so hard to define it, and I think that definitely touches on really important aspects of both. I think that's a cool way to think about it. The Ana is playing really far back here because she's the only one who can't really run away from... So the Eternals comp, there's no one to rush down because they're all super mobile. It's a really interesting style of dive that I really like. But then because they have the Ana as the one person here, one, they have to watch out if Gladiator swapped to let's say Tracer in their brawl. Second, if the brawl catches up to him, he's probably dead. So Khan plays at a very long range here. Kind of a funny pose. To ensure that he's never getting checked. And so Glad's really only option is they can get some ult play, but and maybe if they can kill Naga, then the Glads just don't have the pressure. But for all practical purposes, Russian brawl comps are the same thing. Yeah. Some people like to nuance it and say that rush comps are the dive brawl hybrids, like a Monkey, Diva, Reaper Sombra, Moira Lucio or something. But the fact is they both are brawl comps focused on brawling. People just like to call rush comps ones that are faster, like a fast brawl, with characters that have mobility. I use them mostly interchangeably, and if you want to be never wrong, you can always just call it a brawl comp. But there's not that much technical terminology in the Overwatch world. But yeah, I usually call the comp styles brawl, spam, and dive. Dive is the only one that just never is renamed. It's always dive. Spam, I've heard poke, spam, bunker. Bunker is the only one that I would say is outright wrong, because that implies that you're playing stacked, and spam comps almost never want to play stacked. Bunker is just a specific style, if you're all on top of the Bastion. But anyways, I digress. The only win con for Glads here is if they can pick off the Pharah and then bunker on point, because right now this is just a really difficult matchup for them. So yeah, they're using 3 ults already to just try and translate into this, and that's probably the right call from them, because they're gonna have to do something very aggressive to handle this. Let me check what happened with Vestola. Did he take too much damage before the fight? I don't think that's a very good bomb, if I'm honest. He didn't really think about where he lands. And, like, bombs in the early fight are not that effective generally, because teams will almost always have the positioning or resources to handle them. So, like, for example, if you burn down Rein Shield and you see their D.Va use boosters and, like, all those good things, you could use it. And maybe he's thinking, like, this was probably something planned by Eternal, because it's their only ult that they have right now. So they're like, okay, let's go aggressive with D.Va Bomb. But I think it would be better to try for an aggressive play on the Kree, and then Bomb as, like, an escape. I don't know. Maybe that's just a little nitpicky from me here, but Paris should still win. What? No way. No way. What happens with Muse? There's no way that he got 2 out of that. Khan. Khan is so good at this. What a sicko. And then where's Shu? Why didn't he just go inside? Really though, why didn't he just go inside? Oh, so he like gets like booped or jumped past it. That was funky. Okay. Well, Vistola's bomb probably should not have gotten to there. But I don't know, like I don't have the window into their comps and setups. I don't know their comms structures. Maybe they have a better, maybe it was coordinated, maybe there was a plan to sleep the Rhine. Either way, sick play, I guess. And there's the role of the Tracer, by the way, there. Is she's basically here to just clean up. Because if you think about it this way, Pharah is like the blunt force damage to just like soften things up. And then the ball is just there to like provide the distraction and like a little bit of off ankle pressure, and then the Tracer is there for the cleanup. So she's like the janitor and the sheepdog. She cleans things up after the mess is made, and then the sheepdog part of it is that she tries to herd everyone from the off angles into like one place and keep them from getting any map control. So note that Glads here, they swapped to the 6-man comp. So this is the quote-unquote rush comp that I was talking about earlier, or one of them. The technical terminology is just a dive brawl hybrid, where it's a brawl comp but with dive capabilities. So the two sides of this is, on one hand, there's no one to dive on the Glads comp. Like, they're all super slippery heroes. So that makes it a very challenging matchup, and they have the vertical mobility that they have a good matchup against spam. But then on the other hand, the Glads comp is super weak against like a hard brawl, because they just get out-brawled, basically. So, because the whole idea is the Glads comp is like if you have a brawl comp that can close the distance very rapidly. Like, way more rapidly than a normal brawl. So, that's why it's called a rush comp sometimes. But, so the Glads are basically going to be trying to rotate around to find Khan here. But the thing is the Eternal actually have a pretty similar comp in terms of theory. But the problem is I don't think the Glads are going to be able to get point control. I don't think they're going to die to the Eternal's comp very easily, but I'm almost certain that Eternal should be able to keep point control. Because unless Birdring lands a hack on Vistola or Onigod, or maybe Dredro, there's no one that the Glads kill here, except obviously Khan. Khan is their main target. But the thing is I don't think Khan is going to let them catch him. We'll have to see. Maybe they do, but so yeah, there's the rotation focused on taking as little damage as possible. So they go through here. diminish the sightlines. Note that they don't come out here where they're actually pretty exposed to the Pharah. They use this vertical cover first, and they were planning probably on engaging to here or so. This is why Bird Ring was actually set up on the angle, but for Glads, they probably need to focus on closing the distance on Shu, or not, sorry, on Khan first, and then having Bird Ring, Kevster, and Space check the Pharah. Because I think that they just lose if the battle goes into any long, drawn-out fight because of that Pharah. But the fact is, you can't start with the Pharah just because they're being harassed by too many other things. So it's still a tough matchup. So usually, in theory, the best counter comp to the Eternals comp is a brawly spam comp, because then you out brawl their diving aspects, but then you out spam or like match spam their spammy side. So something like Orisa, D.Va, Kree, Mei, Bap, Lucio that we've been seeing in the Overwatch League a couple times recently, like the Outlaws were running that. That's kind of like the perfect counter comp to Eternal, or at least in theory, the comp that would match it, because the whole like hybrid comps are tricky because you can't really hard check them as much. They're very easy to like, the reason that they're so popular now is because they give you so many different win conditions, and that win condition is more flexible and more important now than it used to be. Like Rein Zarya was like a standard for so long on ladder and stuff, and it still kind of is, but compared to Rein D.Va, where D.Va has that dive power to dive down spammy threats, that's much more useful generally than stacking the two brawl heroes with Rein and Zarya. So we should see, yeah, so they're going for Khan, and they get him, okay. But at this point, they're so in the open that I think Naga just wins it. Like, I don't, like, Naga's forcing so many resources here. He doesn't even need to ult, probably. Ah, okay, so that's the best way for them to handle him, but they miss it. So that's unlucky from Space. He does get the remake onto Vestola. That's kind of funny. But note that Glads actually had 1, 2, 3, 4 people here versus 3. Almost 5 versus 3. And I'm pretty sure Onigod and Naga literally just win this straight up. Okay, Kevster's a sicko again. But yeah, like, this drawn out fight, I just don't I don't know if Glads have the resources to finish them off here. Yeah, honestly, like, a lot of people are like, haha, Baby D.Va remake is kind of stupid, but I'm like, I don't know, it kind of fits the fun Overwatch vibe, and it's kind of silly, and like, I don't know, I enjoy spamming bonk in the I enjoy saying bonk in the chat every time it happens in scrims. Like, it's kind of fun. So Eternal nanos Don, because he's like their kind of brawling point right now, because in the fight phases you have that spam, dive, and then brawl phase, and whether Eternal likes it or not, they are in the brawling phase. So they're going to need someone here on the point contesting, and it's going to be Vestola and Dawn for the most part, maybe a little bit of Onigod. So that nano is probably a good idea, just to make sure that he doesn't get run over by the Sombra D.Va. So yeah, Naga kills Moth. Naga should kill Birdring soon, too. Onigod gets Shu. Nice call in space. Birdring, I don't actually know what he's doing. I guess he's going for touch. So yeah, not like the Glads just did not handle this comp very well. I really think something with the I think their Kree Mei comp actually could have done it. Their Kree Mei Brawl. But I think they would have needed to play much more intelligently with their tank line. And no, I'm not saying that Space and Muse aren't smart. They're both very smart and like they're good players. But the fact is I don't think either of them had their head in the game where it needed to be. Like that time when Muse was slept against that sleep dart, that was a major issue. It's a bit map dependent and kind of situational because it depends on which space is more important for you. So, for example, if you're just trying to bunker down on the point, it can make a lot of sense to go for off point so that you're getting that map control and closing out angles and win the fight there and then move to point. But then, like, there's tons and tons of sim TP strats. I don't think either is wrong, and I don't really know if there's a right answer either. I think either is fine. You just have to do one decisively and then move into the other area when you're done. I think it's a little map dependent. I think that's probably the best answer because on something like Nepal, like let's say so like on this one, you definitely want to go here first and like clear out these side areas first because if you go onto point, you're just gonna get surrounded and spammed out. Meanwhile, so if we actually go to the start of this map, we can watch their rollout because they are on the brawls here, and they were actually on brawl for the other one too. So I'll show you that one too real quick. But note that neither team is prioritizing point here. They both want this. And the only reason Space is going to point is actually because he just wants an off angle, not for actually getting point. But you can't go too aggressively because he'll just get run over by Dredro. And so they did the quick TP behind, take the fight. And there's first fight. And then this one I think people tend to go for point first. Yeah, so like here they're just going straight for point. So yeah, it's kind of map dependent. I would say if you want to play safe, if you want the safe always right answer, it's almost never wrong to go for the map first and then the point. It might be slower and you might give up control at first, but objective tends to be very easily surrounded. So if you roll out at on the side of a map, usually on the side opposite of coast, it will almost never be a wrong answer. Let's see, and then I'm looking at Shock versus Paris. Brawlmere Shrine again, Nepal Shrine. Yeah, hopefully that answers it a little bit. So Shock is running basically the same comp here. It's actually kind of interesting that they have Twilight on the Ana. Usually Zen is stronger here, but I think the teams must be liking running the Ana on this point. Yeah. And there's a couple cases where they're not as exposed. So for example, Nepal Village, the one that we haven't seen here, the one where it's like the two walls and stuff. That one is relatively less exposed compared to some other ones, so that like there it's a little more viable to bunker down. But even then, you'll see most teams roll out on top and go for that balcony control first before moving to point, because like even just those small angles, even if there aren't many, those are so lethal. So right here, once again, one of the key things is you see the Sombra going for the off angle again. Like she always wants to be on that off angle pressure, and it's so easy to set it up. I kind of like the way that Shock are rolling Twilight out onto here, like individually. But I'm a little... Well, I'll just let it play out. We'll see how it goes. Ideally, once again, they want to burst down Onigod, kind of like how Eternal did it to Glads. I don't know if I like that pile drive from Smurf. Did he see something that I didn't? Or did he get booped? Or did he just... Or super? It's actually... Oh, because they're playing Ryan on a different map. So he kills the turrets. Yeah, weird. I think I would have gone for just the one straight through the stairs, but maybe he just wanted to get the extra cover usage or something. Either way, though, even that messed up boop, still look at the opportunities that it already made, though. It already made opportunity for for Twilight to land a really big nade, and for Glister to get a hack. And actually, I want to watch that from Vistola's POV. It's like he boops the ball, which is the right call. And then he's now focusing on matrixing the Sombra, who's a threat. But this means that he's just not looking for the nade here. So it's kind of like this complicated issue of it's like, well, they need to look in so many different directions as a team, and they can't focus down any of them. Here, Eternal's win condition is probably just try to freeze Vistola or Super, and like keep them just warded away from point, and then just stall out on point bunkered as long as possible. Because I don't think they have any way of actually winning this fight in the long run. I think they always just... I think in any situation here, they lose, so it's just a question of stalling it out as long as possible. I think Shock just wins this. They land the kill on Onigod with the poke. Oh, right. I forgot that they could dive the Ana, but Twilight lands a really nice sleep. Yeah, this is the fishbowl. Yeah, I mean, look at it. They had Choi over here. They have the Pharah here. They have Ball here. They have Glister here. Twilight here. They have them completely surrounded. I hate this map because you don't get a good spectating position. Except like maybe kind of up here. Unfortunate that they couldn't boop Khan into Nero's sightlines, but yeah, Nero picks off Naga. Okay, so yeah, like, Eternal couldn't really bunker down even to make it to past the Shock here. Dun 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 dun. So now Eternal is swapping to the mirror, except they're keeping the BAP. So the reason that you would run the BAP here is that, one, they want to keep the ult charge, because that's like a pretty important ult and gives them at least one ult there. Two, Khan is a sicko on the BAP. Three, well, you don't really need the healing that BAP gives. Same with like Ana. He gives you damage, which is obviously always nice. So BAP is like more damage than Ana and more survivable than Ana, but doesn't have the nade utility. And the reason you would use BAP over Zen is literally just because you want the survivability, and if you have a sicko BAP player. But generally, Zen gives better pressure and usually is a little stronger. I think that Zen, though, you usually want the Brig. So I think because these teams are doing the Mercy, I think that the Ana and BAP make a little more sense even if you're running the ball. Just because they have more equipment to handle the enemy tracer and like enemy dive unit without just getting run over by stuff because of no brig. Huh, yeah, but like Han gets run over immediately still. So a lot of this is just who can kill whoever's backline person faster. Yep, and there goes Twilight. And now it's the scrappy mid-fight. And I think Paris wins this because I think the Echo's actually much stronger in the mirror. But we'll see. Scrappy mid-fight. Good stuff from Khan. And yeah, okay. So yeah, it looks like Eternal wins it out in the long fight. No, actually, let me go back. I want to see the EMP. I was kind of thinking about some other stuff for a second there, but... Nero is kind of leaving. FD got behind a little bit. Okay, so Eternal has their angles set up. I guess Onigod went to here, to here, to here to try and pressure Nero more. Shock. I feel like they're... I feel like they're a little... Wait, is Choi demeched? No, he's bombing. It's a little weird of a setup, but... Okay, so it does translate into a kill on Khan, though, which is pretty useful. I think the new Ana skin is a little weird, if I'm honest. It's cool, and like... It's kind of neat design, but I don't really feel like it fits her or the... it's okay. I liked the Angel of Death Widow skin a little more, and I didn't really love that one a ton either. I got it because I didn't have any other Widow skins on my Casil account, but... So yeah, while Shock won the short play there, I think the Tracer, first of all, is also stronger in the mirror, actually. Even though Sombra, like, intuitively, you would think, okay, we're killing the ball faster, maybe, like trying for the hacks. In reality, Sombras don't go for hand hacks that much in Overwatch League, if I remember right. Just because everybody reacts fast enough that they can shoot them and cancel the hack. So a lot of Sombra is like the farming still and like going for the EMP, and I think Tracer's neutral is just way stronger than Sombra. And like just way better pressure in general. So note that Shock does swap Nero over to the Echo too. For that value in the mirror. And Glister might swap to Tracer too, but we'll see. Yeah, there's the Tracer. So now the only difference is the Bat versus Ana. And really, I don't think that there's like a major difference between either. It's like, well, okay, which do you think is going to help you survive better, right? Sleep Dart and Nade, or Immortality and Shift? Like, either are going to work about the same. The reason I say both are going to work about the same is because, well, you'd think Immo might work better. It's pretty easy to force out Bat because he's a larger hitbox and doesn't have another denial tool like Mercy's Sleep Dart. And then when she self-nades and gets help from the Mercy, that's actually really, really, really strong. Like, it's stupidly hard to kill through that. So now in the mirror here, it should be Super and Glister, I think, or yeah, Super and Glister should be playing more together. And I think Choi should be playing a little closer to Twilight. And then Nero and FD God are on the angle. So, okay, so you start to see it form, actually. So, okay, so they're doing that. Okay, so they're not... They're kind of shaping up to it a little bit. Teams run the Pharah instead of the Echo when they just want a stronger spam win condition, because Pharah gives you a much more reliable spam angle and much longer range on it. So if you're in like an uneven matchup, so if you're against Brawl instead of a Mirror, sometimes it can be more meaningful to run the Pharah because she can hold an angle for a really long time, like up here, or wherever. Like Echo can only briefly go up there and then has to drop. And then the Pharah has way more reliable long range damage. Like an Echo shooting from up here to where Khan is basically no threat. But a Pharah could actually still snipe him from here. Or actually, is Khan on top? No, he's on the bottom. But you get the point, right? Like if FD God is here, a Pharah might be dangerous from here. Echo is not. So usually it's if you want to lean into that spammy win condition more. But on this comp, the spammy win condition just, like, you just kind of want to match it. It just doesn't make as much sense to try and, like... The Pharah just has, like, she doesn't have any targeting for the mirror or against the dive comps. So usually I would only run Pharah if you think that the enemy team is going to be on, like, a brawl or a double shield. Maybe I would consider the Pharah. But even in those situations, I don't think the Echo is worse. So it's kind of a comfort pick thing, too. So like there's a myriad of like reasons that you might play the Pharah over the Echo. I think the Echo is almost always the stronger pick. Not just like, oh yeah, Echo's OP, like nerf Echo, ha ha ha, Pharah bad. I think they're both very good heroes in this comp, and I think they're actually both pretty fine right now. But Echo, just her play style is a little more flexible, which I think fits this comp's style a little more. So. Okay, so now we see those units that I was talking about. So we have this unit, we have the Choi Twilight unit, and then Glister kind of got split from Super, which was unfortunate. So now what happens in these mirrors is you have a bunch of little fights taking place on the side. So right now you see Khan and Don trying to chase after Super, while you see Glister and Onigod dueling, and we'll probably see Naga either dive Twilight or maybe go for the duel with Nero. Okay, so the Glister loses the Tracer duel, just how it goes. I wonder if Choi could have gone down and helped him, but I think they probably would have dived Twilight the moment Choi did that. So this is gonna sound stupid, but maybe the answer there is literally just win the Tracer duel forehead. But I mean, just how it goes sometimes. Nero maybe could have given some backup. I don't know. Bottom line is I don't think Super and Glister should have gotten so separated, but. So they initiate the dive onto Twilight, and notice that as soon as they hit the dive, the key thing here is that you see the Echo follow-up. And the Echo follow-up with that burst damage from the beam and mines is going to be so key. So Choi is going up to avoid the damage and like be eating at an angle and like better see the projectiles, and then hitting the DM to try and protect him from those mines. But Twilight almost certainly still dies here. And like the same principle as the Pharah, but like where she dives in closer and like hits the rockets when the dive actually happens. But Echo's beam is harder to block and generally just gives the better follow-up. The reason it's possible is because Eternal already had like that, they got that advantage there with Glister being gone, because normally they would have to worry now about someone being on Khan, but because Khan is like able to jump and better use the high grounds and like a harder target and can provide more counter pressure and doesn't have any pressure anymore from the Tracer, they're basically able to freely dive because there's no threat on their backline anymore. There's no trade that's going to happen. I think Super has no reason to be going up here. I think that's just not useful. So, kind of just bad play from the Shock there. I'll probably go to the end of this map and then call it, since I'm not doing a ton of streaming today. Just like a little taste to hang out a bit and stuff. So Shock is like already, like, this is an engage that they didn't have time to set up their proper angles or anything because it's last fight, so they're so worried about touching point. And Eternal doesn't really have to worry about point that much, just a little bit. So they both kind of slap down mines to make it annoying for any team on point and kind of like zone out their sides. But now if you look at the map here, like Shock is already so low because Khan has this angle here where I think he clipped Nero once and Super 1 or 2 times. And then we don't have our Tracer set up at the angle, and like if you look at this, because of the angles that Khan and Naga have, the Eternals just have way more pressure on the map right now. Like Shock cannot look at these guys and actually address them. Especially if we look at Khan, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be able to land some good stuff here. Maybe they just kite him, but yeah. So he just murders Super, frags out, almost kills Choi. And note, like, he's still on the angle here, right? Because if Shock tries to have any more people touch point, it's gonna be like through here or here, because they wiped out this side already. So Khan is just moving in a little closer to make sure that they can test it. But like, it's already so devolved, and yeah, like Paris just hard diffed them on that comp for the most part. So here we see the Brawl Mirror, and we can take a look at the rollout real quick before I see if there's any more ball gameplay. Because actually I don't know if there's more ball in the map. So here you kind of see the split philosophies, right? So Shock is going for the map control here and seeing if they can get the more advantageous approach and like a little more control over the fight and like how it goes. While Eternal is going for, let's get point control first and control the positioning that we want and then play it to hard hold it. And now the risk, like, because it's a double Brawl Mirror, it could go either way here. But for example, if Eternal does this and it turns out Shock was on a spam comp, things could get really gritty, because even though it's like really hard to get spam angles on the point here, a lot of the times you can just take the one long fight and gradually burn them down and then just hold point control for the rest of the game. It's much weaker on this stage, so I don't actually recommend doing the spam. I just recommend brawling here, but curious. So how do they? What is Nero doing? There must have been a call to go that was like too early. Choi's in, and then the small angle. The Stola's small angle is better. May diff because they have the May alive, and then they win it. Okay, so alright, let's see if we get any more ball. If not, I go to an APAC game for the rest of this hour for the last 10 minutes. Because APAC loves running ball. Okay, so no more ball. I was looking at Dragons versus Fusion. Volskaya attack for Dragons. Because Dragons run on attack, which is actually, so this comp is, it's a challenging one to run for sure. Some kind of They run a different flavor of it. They run Tracer Sombra instead of the Echo a lot of the times. So they have the Tracer Sombra, Ball Diva, Zen Brig. So this is so I would say Ball Diva right now is probably the closest thing to a meta comp in the game. I don't think it's like meta. Like I think there's like plenty of maps where other comps outvalue these heroes. So it's a very good balance state. But I think that Ball Diva has a really good matchup into Brawl in general, like a pretty good one, but also it has a very, very, very good matchup into Dive. Like Mono has nobody to dive here on the Dragons, except for maybe Lee Jagon and Izayaki. Yeah, so Brig Zen is a greedy backline. So the idea is Ball doesn't need the heals. He can go get Mega Packs. Diva doesn't actually end up taking that much damage if you play her well. So she doesn't need the resources. So the Brig is hard pocketing Lip and Fleta. And we can actually look at this. Of course, Brigs misuse their packs all the time in Overwatch League, so I don't actually know if we'll see it correctly, but it's both. She's doing both. She's there to protect Zen against Dive, she's the peel bot for Zen, and like very, very, very important to protect Zen. Like you can't run the Mercy Zen very often because the Zen is so frail. But the Brig Zen is there to protect Zen, but then she also pockets the DPS. But then Izayaki is also generally pocketing the DPS. So the idea is it's a greedy backline that gives you a third damage angle with the Zen in addition to your DPS and tanks. And then you also get to pour as much resources into your DPS as possible. And it's very strong in Overwatch League, but it's also pretty greedy, so a lot of the times it can just get run over. So, but it's a very, very, very strong support line. So here, let's we probably won't. So right now they're just trying to figure out how to rotate. So this is actually a really good POV to watch. Note that Fusion is actually playing pretty far back because they don't want to be too close. That's why their backline is up here. Brig does the same thing, by the way, with the Ana. She's there to protect the Ana and enable the DPS. Because Brig's ranged heals are really strong for someone like Tracer or Echo. Because then you don't have to be close to them and you can still give them a ton of resources. But anyways, they're trying to set up to like hit the dragons while they're rotating. So we'll see how that goes. My guess is Void is probably going to stop whatever happens, but... Tops off Ball. Tops off Sombra, I think that was. And of course, sometimes the packs go to the Zen, but... Okay, so it looks like they're not that... They don't care that much about using it specifically for the DPS. But in theory, like this is something that like Spilo always complains about with the Overwatch League teams, is that the Brigs like are always like packing these tanks and stuff instead of the DPS. It's much, much, much more efficient for the tanks to just be more careful with taking the damage and then hard pocket the DPS. But of course you need some pretty good DPS, and like this isn't like, I don't recommend this on ladder. I don't recommend Zen Brig on ladder because it's much too hard to coordinate on ladder. But it's cool. It's a pretty cool backline. So from the overhead though, why don't... Oh, it's just because Carpe... What is Carpe doing? He gets distracted by the ball and gets hacked? That's really amateur. So the problem here is the Fusion's comp. If the Tracer dies, there's literally just no teeth. Because Sombra doesn't have any bite. They're on the Monkey Ana, so they don't have the Zen DPS angle or the Ball DPS. Ball has much more pressure than Monkey, but he's also able to survive less attention, so that's why Ball is very precise You just get in and then get out because you can't linger. Monkey has his bubble, so you can linger. D.Va is inconsistent pressure. Sombra is inconsistent pressure with a short window of time. Alarm is probably trying to force out Lip. Let's see. Ideally, their win condition here is Mono takes damage, Alarm uses it to build up Nano. But the reason she's holding close to the left side is she doesn't want to expose herself to any other unnecessary angles, but... So she's 4 shots down. Okay, so there, right here, by the way, it might look like it's like kind of weird, but the reason that the nade goes here and Void actually gets this fantastic eat on it, it's so hard eating nades like this, but the reason is that Alarm is actually reading that like, remember how I mentioned the be aware of the rain, but prepared for the flooding? So this here, this is in theory just the rain. Like, they don't have to worry about the ball coming in and these things as much in theory. What they actually want to hit is the Zen and the Brig as they rotate through. Because if they landed a nade here, in theory, Mono and Carpe could literally just jump on them and hard int and run over both of them. So Alarm goes for that play, but the front line is already in shambles, and no one can actually follow up on it, even if Void didn't eat it. So now he's healing up Mono to try and generate the Nano. Ignores the Tracer because Tracer shouldn't need the healing, and then just fishes for a Sleep Dart. I don't know if fishing for a Sleep Dart is the right play there. I think they get it back in time, but... Discipline on the nade because it's too predictable right now. Mono dies. Yeah. Yeah, they're just... Yep, that's exactly it. The dragons are just distracting to help Zen and Brick rotate. Yep. Because the number one thing that, like, people on ladder fail at on this map is that they don't ever rotate cleanly through choke. They always try and take the fights here. So the whole idea is that you want to get your DPS. So this is my checklist that I talk about with my team all the time. It's you rotate into the space and clear out the angles of the enemy team, and then you fan out your angles. So then once they have control of this side of the map, they can spread out, create that fishbowl. But then the problem is, like, if you're here, there's just no angles on like that you can take. So the number one goal is literally just to get in. A lot of the times, yes. Yeah. I mean, if we look at Izayaki's POV, you probably see Lee Jae-gon in front of him a lot. It helps that Carpe was dead, so it wasn't as necessary to like be like hard pocketing him. But yeah, the Brig is like the security guard, and sometimes she can be a little more separated from the Zen, and they can play even like completely split, or they can play like the Brig can kind of be in the middle, like between, like a little in front of the Zen. But yeah, bottom line, oh, that was a really nice snipe that almost hit. So Izayaki goes for a little more poke here, but notice that Void and Lee Jae-gon are still just lingering to help with the rotate. Lee Jae-gon's checking behind. And see, so he's kind of in that middleman position, so he's not like on top of Izayaki, and not necessarily directly shielding him, because it's kind of a nuisance and it's kind of hard and restricts your Brig a lot. But the fact is that she's acting as that middle point, right? She doesn't want to stack on top of Izayaki, because then she's just having no value and she's not able to land any whip shots or like contest point meaningfully. But instead, she plays at a corner a little bit ahead of the Zen, and then she still is in range to peel for him if he was in theory under pressure, while also kind of being able to support the team still land whip shots, etc. So that's kind of like the really evolved sense of how you handle the Brig Zen comp. And now Izayaki can look for this flank here because he's his own DPS angle, and note that his buddy here, Lee Jagan, is moving with him. Yeah, it helps extend the corner for the Zen. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, the Brig's shield was still useful here and like helped give him a little extra leeway. But then her controlling this corner helped secure the Zen's sightline and his safety. Yeah. And then now, because they flank together in case Carpe comes back, now they're rotating around. And while the heals aren't on your team for a little bit, the team doesn't need that many heals. So the advantage of this is that they're doing this constrict phase, right? So while here, this was like a nice angle. Now that fusion is like all over here, the angle just doesn't do as much. So now they're trying to rotate here to hit the pinch and the pressure. I don't know if they actually needed it. I think the core had it fine, but so it's a very, very, very interesting thing. Yeah. The shield is like, you want to use it for a reason, and usually you can hold it up, but the thing is you just always need you want it to be getting, like you need a corner first of all, so that your shield doesn't just get blown up and manhandled. But you can use it for teammates, you can use it for, like, it's for any tactical purpose, and it's always like a fine safety thing to have your shield up, or at least for the most part. But as long you always need that cover, and you always need to like you don't want to just be wasting it into like spam damage, right? Like you're not gonna walk into a Junkrat with your big shield. Then you just like have to do like an actual rotation. But the shield is best for like as a dueling resource. Like if someone gets into close range and you have to like a Kree or something, you can duel them a little bit with shield. Or Brig or Tracer, or not Brig, Tracer, Kree, Reaper a little bit, but not much. And you can block off some sight lines to just give like a moment, because like while it'll only block one Widow shot or whatever, or 2 shots, that's still 2 shots that give you a chance to get to cover. So yeah, it just gives you that tiny little bit of extra leverage. Say capture point. And I'll watch this one more fight and then probably call it. Well, I will call it. I'll be decisive here. Carpe! What's he doing? I don't want to like BM Carpe here, but like, for real though. This is twice that he's got caught out as a hack on the very first fight. But yeah, he was just caught with his pants down. He just was not expecting it. That was a really nice double back from Lip. And that's a reason. There's the reason that you don't have your translocator that far from the fight here. Because for example, if his translocator was out here, like a lot of ladder Sombras would do, he would have lost his angle, he would have to reposition, and he couldn't capitalize. But if you keep the translocator closer, like if you put it like right here, and you're taking a fight in here, then you can just recall back, and suddenly you actually are out of the fishbowl, onto an off angle, and still not out of the fight. So you don't, because like if you translocate out here, it's like you half died. Like you have no impact on the fight, and it's a 5v6 until you can get onto another good position. So that was really smart from Lip. It was high risk, but pretty good play. Or actually, maybe he got booped. Hold on. Maybe I'm misinterpreting this. Huh? No way. He just walks up and hacks him? I was looking at it and I thought something different happened, but I thought what happened was that Lip was trying to hack the health pack, Carpe canceled, and then got hacked. But then it was EQO hacking the health pack, and Carpe just gets hacked straight up. pretty questionable. Very, well, no, more than pretty, very questionable. I think Carpe should have just been like here instead of trying to go for like in this mega room. I think that was really questionable because he should know that the enemy team is much more concerned about rotating through the outside here, and like he should be able to keep all of this in his one sight line instead of putting himself into this middle zone. Because on this map, you have this narrow lane here that's not very useful, but then you have this wide lane here, and this is actually the key part of the map on this point. Because if you control this this off angle, this one is very strong. If you control this off angle on offense, this is stupidly strong. If you control on defense, it's stupidly strong because you can just like go here and flank on them. Basically anything on this side of the map is a really, really strong position. Support here, DPS here, tank here, just like anything. Main tank here. So all of the play on this map at the pro level will generally involve rotating partially or at fully into this area, sometimes even clearing out this full high ground from the stairs, or sometimes even rotating on the platforms through. So yeah, Lips Sombra is really good, at least as neutral. His EMPs sometimes leave a little bit to be desired, but yeah, he's a very good Sombra player. But yeah, Carpe just is like, he gets bitten, and while he's back, because of respawn advantage, he doesn't have that positioning setup that he wanted. Izayaki is a little too close to the fight here, maybe, but yeah, okay, so he's backing out. So this is a good position for him because he has the mini pack, and then Lee Jae-gon is still buddying with him. Lip gets out, based in the mini. Ball gets hacked, but it's fine. And note that Izayaki is not stagnant. Like, he's constantly repositioning and looking for these new DPS angles. I think this is pretty sloppy engage from Fate. I don't think there's actually any reason to engage that. But nice stick from Flutta. I remember seeing that one live. Actually, I want to show you that one if you didn't see it earlier, because it's such a sick stick, if I remember right. Look at this. Oh my gosh, I lost. What a sick gamer. Good EMP, but they're not able to get any actual follow-up because Carpe is respawning again. Or no, he was... Actually, I don't even know where he was, but presumably respawning again. Yeah, Drat Fusion just has not looked very coordinated here, unfortunately. I have very high hopes for Fusion in general, and I think that they'll be pretty dangerous in this tournament. But I think the real question, though, is Shockwave is with the team in Korea, I think. But I'm curious why they're not running Carpe and Shockwave for the Tracer Sombra, because Shockwave, I guarantee, is a much stronger Sombra player than EQO and Rascal. I would almost guarantee it. But I don't know. Maybe there's internal things. Maybe Shockwave isn't integrated in as well. Maybe it doesn't like handle working with the Korean language stuff as well, and they need to wait for Poco to also be there to be like a more EU based. I really don't know, but I don't know. I'm hoping. I was hoping Fusion would look really good here, but it's been kind of weird. He's played on Titans. He's played Ashe. He had a really good Echo, though I don't think I'd run him over Rascal or EQO on Echo. My computer's going really slowly. I'm going to Shockwave's Liquipedia page here to check it out. Shockwave. Wikipedia. Danish player, yup. If I remember right, he has good Sombra. His signature heroes: Widow, Kree, Ash, Hanzo, Echo. Maybe I'm tripping. Yeah, I think I've seen Rascal on Sombra. I don't know how it is. I have not seen EQO on Sombra before this year. So that one's like a little unusual. I don't think EQO is like too bad on Sombra, and I think EQO is a very good player that a lot of people underrate. I think Shockwave still would probably be the stronger choice on Sombra, but I just don't know why they're trying to force the Sombra, if I'm honest. I think, like, so Fusion ran a lot of other comps in this match. I just I think they probably should have gone for like the Echo or Ash even. But then the problem is they only have the one hit scan player right now. Because if you like you can't go for the Ash because that would have to be Carpe, but then you have the Rascal Tracer again, and I don't think you want that compared to someone who's like more established as like a Tracer player who has that spark like of like someone who plays like the hero compared to just someone who's filling on it. But I don't know. EQO is pretty good flex DPS player. He was the one who had arguably the most iconic play last year, where he clutched against Paris Eternal briefly in the grand finals of the Summer Showdown. Or, well, not the grand finals. The finals of the Summer Showdown last year in the Genji meta. Fusion finally pulled EQO out of the bench and was up against Paris Eternal, and that one on Rialto, if you look it up, EQO clutch, it's a really, really, really insane play. Arguably, like, one of my favorites. So he's a pretty good player. He plays Echo. Oh, no, feels bad. Who were they against this time? Was it Outlaws or was it Defiant? Was it Defiant? I don't remember who they're facing to. Justice. Oof, that's rough. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a tough year for them. Like this started off so far on the back foot, and while they finally got Sparker on deck, and I think Spilo was a really good pickup off. I mean, I might be a little biased, but I think Spilo was a really good pickup for an assistant coach. But at this point, yeah, it's 0-12 record, and while it's important to remember that that's still continuing. Is that continuing from last year's Spitfire, or is it that just this year? Either way, though, it's still pretty bad, and like the problem is like even with really good coaching and stuff, and like good players, like they're all pretty good individual players. I don't know if they have that like. I don't know. I don't feel the. I think it sounds right for this season because I think I think Titans and Valiant are both 11-11, just because they haven't had as many games yet. So yeah, I think that sounds right. As in like 0-11 and 0-11. But like I don't know who they'd take a map off of. I mean a game off of. Like they definitely win against Titans like at the end of the year. They would win against Valiant, I'm pretty sure, if they were able to face them. But like in NA, the step up from Valiant, I mean the step up from Titans is pretty sharp. Because then suddenly you're like, okay, well who's up? You have like Uprising maybe, but Uprising looked pretty dominant against the Outlaws. Outlaws, Justice, maybe Paris Eternal, but we saw that Eternal has looked pretty good. We just looked at them; they looked good. They rolled the London when they faced. I feel like Defiant is maybe the most likely, maybe, but that's still kind of a reach. So we'll just kind of have to see. Maybe Mayhem, honestly, with Checkmate. Not like no offense to Checkmate, but his Rein, like I saw maybe like I just saw the worst parts. Well, I know I saw the worst parts, hopefully. But like his Rhine, he was just doing like plat charges. Like they were really, 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 really bad on like questionable choices on Rhine. But I don't know. We'll just have to see. Uh, Thanks for stopping by. Always a fun time chatting with you and covering some of this stuff. And this way, I don't have to feel like I'm a total dead gamer in terms of my stuff. I'm not sure when I'll stream again. It's just kind of like always spontaneous. I'll probably do a Reddit post again soon. I've been thinking over some more topics and stuff that I want to cover. As always, if you have any, maybe next stream would definitely be a VOD review one. So I would probably cover one or two. Um, so the way I think things line up is I think I have this next week I'm busy with some team stuff and like meeting with a professor and like relaxing other things. Then I'm going on a trip and have a funeral in late July. But then early August, I'm definitely gonna do a VOD review stream then. Uh, we'll see. Basically, I don't know exactly how things will pan out. Maybe next week, maybe during this next week, or maybe late August. Or I mean early August. We'll see. But like I enjoy working with all you guys. I enjoy looking at some ladder reviews with people who aren't like completely like brain dead for lack of discretion. So yeah, I'll call the stream. Thanks for showing up, and that is that. Take care.